Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla. Let's go over the market and let's figure out what is happening to the market today. Finally a green day, finally a day we can be a little bit happy about, at least if you're a bull. But regardless, we'll go over it, we'll talk about it, what we can expect moving forward. Is this good or is this bad? I think J Powell should be speaking actually right now. I thought it'll be at 1 o'clock today. It's at 4 instead, which is pretty much right now. But regardless, let's talk about it. Let's figure this out. So if you enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. I do appreciate it. And of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is below if you're interested, where essentially I share my intraday thoughts on Tesla as it's moving, giving you updates and stuff live throughout the trading day. So link is below, just $3 a month. But yeah, jumping into a Tesla closing the day up. Finally, we can say closing up a pretty decent amount as well, closing up about 2.5%, which will be putting Tesla at about $246.50 per share, which compared to the market is a very slight outperformance. I wouldn't say it's a major outperformance, but it's a respectable outperformance. Now, what does this mean and what can happen moving forward? So we talked about how, yesterday we closed at kind of like a interesting point where we were pretty much closing right on the 100-day moving average, but it's not that bad, right? It's looking like it's okay, but we kind of closed just below this potential resistance of about 242.5 roughly, which we did, you can see, get rejected at earlier today, right? We came up to it once again, and then we finally had a nice massive green candle that finally broke through it. And of course, it's usually how you break through resistances. You usually get like one nice large red or green candle to break through supports or resistances. And that's kind of, more or less what happens, which is good. That's good that it happened, and that's looking great. The, RSI on this 65 or 1 hour chart looking pretty good. I'm liking the way it's looking. It's looking like it wants to continue. It doesn't seem like it's over just yet. The MACD is looking pretty good. So overall, the shorter time frame, 65-minute chart is looking pretty okay. And we're also potentially setting up an inverted head and shoulders, which is a bullish head and shoulders pattern, which of course the left side right here will be the head. Again, I wish they had like a drawing to it, but essentially that'll be the shoulder, right? Then we have, of course, the actual head right here, and potentially setting up, right, the right shoulder right here. Something like that is kind of what it can look like, right? So that's something to be kind of mindful of. So if we get a bit of a sell-off, potentially retest that 242-ish area, 243, something like that, right? That could just be pretty much developing the right shoulder, maybe some consolidation for a day or two. And then I think as long as it holds and we don't break back down underneath this kind of 242.5 level, I think it's looking pretty good, and I think this little pattern can play out. Obviously, this is a small inverted head and shoulder, so I don't think it's going to be anything completely substantial. So if it does play out, the neckline is going to be something along the lines of, roughly like this, let's say, right? Give or take, something like this. This is just, again, a very, very rough example, right? But let's just say it'll be something along the lines of this, right? Essentially what you do, make it measure from the bottom to the top, from the bottom of, or the head, I guess, to where the neckline is, which is somewhere around here. Again, give or take. And then once you break out, you can measure how far it'll go, which pretty much takes us exactly to that roughly 255, 260-ish level that we've been talking about for a while, which I think is still very, very possible, especially if this kind of pattern decides to play out. So that's something that you definitely want to be paying attention to, in my opinion. Now, looking over at the daily, like I said, we did bounce off of the 100-day moving average, right? Yesterday was a very scary day because we were well below the 100-day moving average, breaking below important resistances. Thankfully, caught a bit at 235, not too far away from the bottom of or touching the bottom of this overall massive channel that we are in, which is, again, around that low 230s area, right? But thankfully, we ended up bouncing off of it, kind of where we should have, kind of where it mattered, which is great to see. Didn't actually close convincingly below the 100-day moving average, as we closed pretty much right at it. And thankfully, we did see some nice follow through by the bulls today. The MACD is starting to soften up as well from the bearish side, which is great. So, it's not looking as bearish right now, right? It's getting, if anything, slightly less bearish. RSI is still looking kind of neutral. I'm not still the biggest fan, but I'm not the biggest, hater, if you will, of the RSI. It's very neutral looking RSI to me. It's not giving me too much information, in all honesty. So kind of ignoring that for now, roughly, right? It's just kind of following the chart, honestly. But all in all, it's looking good because we are, of course, bouncing off of that. Now, of course, the next level to pay attention to is going to be, of course, 21 EMA, right? We have the 50-day moving average that are also not too far above us, which you can see it's right here. The 50-day moving average is sitting at about 251. The 21 EMA is sitting at about 253. So those are going to definitely act like a bit of a resistance. We also have the volume profile pretty much as we're entering right now. You can see the volume definitely increases, especially as we get into the kind of mid 250s, which is roughly where the two moving averages are sitting at right now that we just talked about. So that's another thing to pay attention to, right? That's going to definitely act as a resistance. I mean, maybe it won't. I mean, in theory, it should, because again, when we were going down into it from up here, it should have acted as a much stronger support. It didn't. We just completely blasted right through them to the downside, which was surprising, but it did happen, right? These things can happen. But again, just strictly off of just probability or statistically or whatever, it should act as a resistance. So we'll see. Of course, that doesn't mean we can't break through it. It's just, it shouldn't, in theory, also be as easy as we just broke down below it in like a normal scenario, if you will. So take that for what it's worth, but that is definitely the next level to pay attention to, right? As top of that, if we remove these bad boys once again, go back to the 65-minute chart, right? You can see, right, similar to, let me go ahead and remove this, right? When we had that rally close to 250 over here, you can see the 250 level is a pretty important level, right? This was kind of the median of this little section over here where we're just going sideways and consolidating, right? It's an area that we got resisted at over here as well. So that 250 level is pretty important, right? Even over here. So there's on top of that area that I just talked about, 250 itself is also just even entering that kind of general kind of area of potential turbulence. Even just entering it will be potentially a little bit difficult. So just keep that in mind, that I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe we come up tomorrow to 250, or at least maybe relatively close to it, probably get rejected. Then maybe we come back down, consolidate, set up the right shoulder. And then from there, hopefully, assuming this pattern plays out, I think we should be able to blast through 250 and probably make our way to at least 255, if not maybe even 260. And from there, of course, we'll revisit and kind of reevaluate and see how it goes, right? But that's kind of the main things I'm looking at right now. That's the majority. That's, in my opinion, the most important thing to look at. Now, if we go back to the daily, we talked about how we'll talk about the squeeze meter over and over and over, right? But unfortunately, that one red circle is the only one we got, and it wasn't replaying this pattern that we saw back here, where it was one red circle into a green. So the squeeze seemed like it was off, but then it was like substantial, like 2 to 3 weeks of just red circles, again, indicating a potential squeeze coming up, relatively soon. And unfortunately, that's not what we're getting, because now we got 2 green circles in a row. So we'll see if that ends up being a red circle tomorrow or not. I don't think it will, but of course, we'll keep an update on it. We'll track it. We'll see how it changes and how it fluctuates and whatnot. But otherwise, that indicator is useless until, of course, in my opinion, it starts showing signs of a potential squeeze. So that's another thing to consider. The Bollinger Bands, you can see kind of consolidating, but nothing too substantial. So it's not very useful, at least in my opinion, for now. And of course, we have the options flow, which I always like to take a quick look at. It's always just fun to see kind of, what's the options market kind of feeling for Tesla right now. And we talked about how, it was actually getting pretty bullish yesterday. So if I scroll down all the way over here, when Tesla was falling, remember when Tesla was falling yesterday to 235? I think it was this one. As hard as it is to believe, with this price movement, which is back when Tesla was at literally yesterday, like 235, 236, right? It was just falling pretty aggressively. The options flow is only getting more and more bullish, right? And that's exactly what we saw over here. You can see a lot of nice, beautiful green circles, right? So not, again, nothing completely crazy like, $2, $3, $4 million whales, but, it was still solidly in the high 100,000s to like almost $1 million in premium. So a lot of bullishness came in, and that's kind of, what that push that we, I guess, saw today ended up being, from 235 up today to 246. That's a phenomenal push, right? So if you were someone that worked off of that, you probably profited pretty nicely. But this option flow now, you can see short term is looking pretty decent, right? You can see a bunch of green circles over here, so indicating that a lot of people are looking for those 240 calls expiring. What is it? The 29th, which is this Friday actually. So very, very short-term options, which I wouldn't be surprised if they started kind of diminishing. Probably even tomorrow at this point, right? I would be surprised if they don't. But after that, you can see some, a little bit of red circles. Again, nothing crazy. They're pretty small in premium. Nothing I would put too much weight into, right? Like 100K in premium, 150K in premium, right? This one's okay, right? It's like almost 700. That's a pretty decent one, but that's really the only meaningful one. All the other ones are very, very minimal, very small. Nothing I would, put too much weight into. So take that for what it's worth. But all in all, I think the options flow is going to be changing pretty substantially starting tomorrow, if not Monday. So we'll, of course, get an update on that. My members, of course, I'll share with them throughout the day as the market is trading. But all in all, that's the main thing I'll be looking at right now, right? Again, the 50-day moving average, the 21 EMA, and of course, the 100-day moving average, right? A little bit of a battle in between these two as we consolidate. And hopefully we play out this inverted head and shoulders for the bullish side. And I think if we do, it'll look pretty phenomenal. But that's kind of what I am seeing right now. So let me know what you think down below. Of course, the most important catalyst, coming up is of course going to be this weekend with Tesla's delivery numbers rather, coming out. And apparently there's supposed to be a miss, right? People are expecting a miss. I think the consensus did drop, and I still think even that people are expecting a miss, even on that new estimated consensus, if I'm not mistaken. So people are pretty bearish going into it, which is probably why maybe Tesla's getting this bit of a sell-off, right? So just keep that in mind as well. So it's already kind of discounted, but you know, we'll see. So that's gonna be a major catalyst. I think that's gonna be coming out this coming Sunday. So that is gonna be important to keep your eyes on. But if Tesla beats, oh boy, I think that's gonna be easily the thing that, you know, propels us up higher to like 260 for sure. But regardless, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. And as usual, I'll see you tomorrow. So until then, have a great day. Peace.